A polyline is used very often to create complex shapes like you see in this example. And you may notice these individual control points or vertices along the entire length of the polyline. It's a single entity and it's been selected now. So it has the advantage where you can just pick on one of those handles and just bend the shape to that which you require. You can also add extra vertices. So if I wanted to get more control in this particular area, I could put my mouse directly over the vertex, right click and insert another vertex. So now I've got an extra vertex in that area. It gives me a little finer control over that area. However, I digress. It's possible, let me escape from there, it's possible to hatch a polyline. This of course would represent a water feature running through here. So we could draw and hatch and pick the polyline and hatch it with a solid fill, and we get a big blob of colour which we could colour the hatching blue. I'll select that hatching again and delete it because it's much more elegant to simply select that polyline and say I want the polyline to be filled. And now in terms of the storage in the drawing file here, this will be much smaller than storing information on hatching. So this applies to lots of entities that you create with a polyline. Let's pick, draw and polyline now, and we can draw from there to there to there to there to there. One of the options when you right click is to say enter close. So that's a closed polyline. You now can see the vertices. It's possible to come over to the properties box and say I'd like a certain type of curve fitting through there, and that gives you the ability to change the shape of the polyline. So polylines are a very, very flexible and good general purpose tool, and you can close it and or no, yes or no, and you can fill it, yes or no. It can have a border, so we could say yes, this line's got a border, and we'll give it some sort of contrasting color, and we'll make it a red border. So now you may be able to see that there's a red border around the polyline. To make sure we can see it, let's give it a thickness of 0.5, and let's even make it, I'm sure you can see it by now, but let's make that a very large thick polyline around it. So the fill is by layer, but the color of the border around the polyline shape is now red. So you can see that's still one single entity, but we've put some interesting properties to it. Don't forget, when you draw a rectangle like so, a rectangle, when you select it, is in fact a polyline, and you can fill it down here. Yes, we can fill it, but you can have a corner radius. We could say the corner radius of that shape needs to be 50 millimeters. So there's the corner radius. You can have a chamfer if you wish on it. So here's a chamfer. You can make the chamfer 75 mil, and that changes it from a rounded corner to a chamfered corner. So I hope you can see that there's a lot more to a polyline than first meets the eye. When we're first learning to put a polyline in, we'd say draw and polyline, go click, 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 and right click and enter, and we've got what looks to be 3 lines joining one another, which is in fact one entity, and you get the same effective result if you just take the line tool. The difference being that if I select, that's selecting an individual line because that shape was drawn by the line tool, and this was drawn with the polyline tool. So I hope that gives you a bit of a feel for the use of the polyline command.